All right, on this episode of the LPDS, we talk about a plethora of stuff, very important stuff, of course. Provide some LPDS events, current events, excuse me. Talk a little bit about the Olympics. Talk about what's going on in the world that is important to me, and maybe it's important to you. I don't know. We'll find out. I have a little bit of a dilemma I'd like to get your take on, and then we also talk about a trend, a fashion trend that's not a trend, but I think should be a trend. And maybe you guys will agree with me, and we could get this thing up and running. Um, Plus, we got a pretty cool cage fact, if you ask me. So all that's coming up right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti. It's a show that talks about nothing but tries to find the lessons and everything, and we have a good time doing it. At least I have a good time doing it. Sharing some fun facts, sharing a few laughs, getting heartfelt sometimes, getting angry sometimes. All the emotions of the human experience, all right here on this show. So thank you for being here. Hope everybody had a good week. If you did, let me know about it on the hotline, 202-670-1114. Haven't gotten many of those lately. That's okay. I know people are busy with their lives, and also not a lot of people tune into this show, so they don't know about the hotline. And that's okay too. I got the ride or dies here, but if you do feel so inclined to call the hotline, I'm open for it. I'm here for it. The hotline's open for it, and it welcomes you. I didn't have a lot going on this week personally, but there seems to have been a lot going on in the world around us, most of which I don't think is actually very important, but it's been made to become important. And that's just the way the world works these days. But my week has been pretty okay, pretty steady, focusing a lot on the spearhead stuff. I'm still doing some brainstorming and critically thinking through the idea of doing a leadership podcast. I know I reached out to the world on potential titles for that, the title of that podcast could be. And I say podcast, but I would put it on like iTunes and Spotify, so people can have access to it while they're, if they're driving or if they're at work or whatever. But it's more so, it's going to be for YouTube as well, just to get the name out there, get some value out there for people. And I also think that this sort of environment of providing information and value in a way that hopefully captivates some people, or at least I like to try to do that. This environment suits me better and who I am. I think I'm a lot more comfortable and effective in this more conversational style. So I think I'm gonna go with with a video YouTube podcast. How you doing? To talk leadership stuff. The reels and the YouTube shorts and the shorter YouTube videos I've been putting out, they're good. It's still value. In my 1 cent opinion, I still firmly believe that there's value in those. I don't ever put out crap I think is fake value or tricking people into thinking there's value and good stuff in there and just for likes and views. I put funny stuff out there too and stupid stuff about my life that, that's for different reasons, obviously. But the reels and the shorter form videos seem a little too performative for me. Or it's, I'm listing out things to do as, for leadership and this and that. And it's all valuable information, but I think I could be more effective in a more conversational style. And this could also allow me to get on some some guests to interview on the leadership aspect. I think that would actually be a little bit easier to get guests on that show than it would be for the LPDS. I don't know why. I think it's crazy to me, and I'm sure it's crazy to you guys too in the LP, the Jabroni Junction over there. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm brainstorming it, but a lot of focus has been on Spearhead these days and prospecting, looking for clients, warm leads, trying to reach out to people I do know and seeing if they have anybody who would be open to discussing things with me and stuff like that. Cold calling still, that's really tough. But I'm working through it. This is we're like I've mentioned in the past, this is sort of like that meme where you're digging through a tunnel and on the other side is that treasure trove of diamonds and rare earth minerals, but you don't know where it is. And you can quit and it could be, one more dig away and you'll never know. So I'm just going to keep digging until I find it. And that's what we're at right now. We're in that tunnel doing the grinding. And that's it. You don't know, I don't know where the great success is coming, but I trust the process. I trust my performance in it. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to keep doing that. So that's basically all the Spearhead updates I have. If you do have any ideas or feedback on the general idea of a leadership show, if you will, let me know, please. Good or bad. Like if you don't like it, cool. Tell me why. If you do like it, cool. Tell me why. And we'll go from there. I appreciate any and all feedback. So what else we got? Moving on. I stepped into an anthill earlier this week. Now, I know a lot of people are probably initially thinking, like, how could you do that? They're very obvious. And for the most part, you're right. Anthills are usually very obvious, especially down here with the fire ants. In Texas, they usually make big communities of their ant farms and ant communities that you can't miss. But for some reason, this one, I was pulling weeds, okay? Let me paint you the picture. I was pulling weeds, and apparently this ant community, it started on the other side of my fence in my yard, which is a wood fence, so it's not separated pickets in the picket fence. It's just wood panels or whatever across wood boards, and I can't see on the other side. So apparently they had their big community on the other side, and they were spreading over, crossing borders, and taking over land on my side. Now, we all know how I feel about people trying to come into my compound and try to have a turf war with the LPDS. It's a no-go. But I didn't see it. They were incognito. They were doing like an undercover operation. So good on them for getting that far. So their community, their anthill, was sort of under like some of the taller grass weed areas. And I stepped on what I thought was grass. I was actually actively looking on the ground there because I didn't want to step in any dog dumpies, because it was very close to the dump pit that I have for old Randy, where I toss his dumpies. So I was trying to avoid that, and so I stepped where I thought was just grass, and I'm pulling weeds, and all of a sudden my ankle starts burning. Not like super on fire, like I need to go to a hospital immediately. It was just like, why is this hotter? Why does this feel hotter than every other part of my body? And I looked down, and my left, from ankle down, was just fire ants. It was just fire. There was a couple ants, like one ant biting at my ankle and doing his little pincer maneuvers. The shoe was made of ants. Completely covered. As soon as I stepped on it, and if you notice that, if you know anything about anthills, especially if you were a kid dicking around with them, as soon as you knock them down, they're all out, rebuilding. And it's kind of fascinating if you have the time to watch it, because you'll knock one down and 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, it's back to normal. They just feverishly all team together, rebuild. They're back to normal on the back and side. And you're just like, is this a magic trick? How did, I just knocked this down. So that's what they did. I stepped on their domicile. They immediately came to try to rebuild, and they saw that the enemy force, what they thought was the enemy force, was still there. So naturally, they attacked. I'm not mad at them for it. I certainly didn't step on their hill on purpose. I would have if I knew that they was there encroaching into my territory. That's a different situation, though. It was an accident. But they were defending themselves, and they swarmed me. And they got me good. They got in my shoe. They got around the ankle. I was able to stop at the ankle, preventing them from coming higher up on the leg. I de-shoed. I cleaned them all out. And then I took offensive action in response. And it took several days, to be honest. Several days to permanently get them out of my territory. Because again, they go back and rebuild. And after a few times of rebuilding the same area, I think, and I have not looked up anything about ant science or ant culture, but what I think they do is after a number of times, if they feel like a certain environment is not safe for them, or they have to keep rebuilding and they can't just live freely, they pack up shop and move somewhere else. And that's what they did. And I've seen that a number of times around here because I have a lot of anthills on my property. I try to get rid of them. And that's what they do. They rebuild a couple times and then eventually they move on. And that's what they did. It took a couple days of digging up that area, moving them onward and upward, out of my territory. They can go on the other side all they want. I don't care. Just get out of my compound. And that's what they did. But my ankle and my foot were swollen. Like when I put a sock on it, the edge of the sock felt like I had a rubber band around my ankle because it was the elastic on the sock was squeezing on the swollen ankle area. And it was red, and you get they look like little pimples where the bites are, and it's nasty, pus and all that stuff, and it itches like crazy. I was putting ice packs on it. I did a little itching, I'm not going to lie. I did a little popping of the stuff, like Dr. Pimple Popper. But that was as exciting as my personal week was for me and in the LPDS community in my world. That was it. I got bit by ants. So not a terrible week if you ask me. People have been going through a lot worse stuff. So not a bad time for me. Speaking of worse stuff or perceived worse stuff, the Olympics is going on. I didn't talk about it last week. I don't remember if I talked about it. I don't think I did. I don't watch the Olympics anymore. Maybe I did talk about it. I don't know. I say a lot of crap and then I forget a lot of crap as soon as I say it. So, speaking of which, I got some comments from people from last week's episode. Oh, I usually only get comments from people when they disagree with me on stuff, which is fine. I don't care, bring it on. That's fine. I appreciate disagreement. I just thought it was funny where some of them were like, we all have opinions and that's great. Sometimes we should keep our opinions to ourselves. Also fair and funny. I don't agree with that necessarily. That's one of the only things we have left in this world is our freedom to express our opinions, no matter how stupid or disagreeable they may be. So I'm going to keep doing that. You don't have to agree with me. That's cool. But I did think that was funny that somebody said that because, I go off on rants and the point here is my opinion changes on a pretty regular basis as more information on a particular subject comes in. So I might be ranting about Emperor Trump or baseball or something or Joey B one week, and then I find more and I get more information throughout my research and my time, and my opinion might shift a little bit. Maybe it won't, maybe it will. I'm open to the idea of learning new things and adjusting how I think about things on a daily basis, live. It's all live. So, yeah, you could disagree with my opinion. I don't remember exactly what I said last week. I'm sure it was, like I do. I rant for a while. I get hot and bothered, and then I move on to something else. And then by the next week, I don't remember even what we were talking about mostly. If I go back and listen to it again, I might share the same opinion. I did that with the New Year's. Every time I put out a New Year's episode, it seems like I'm reading from a script. I still have not changed my opinion on New Year's Eve parties and stuff like that. And I remember distinctly one year I rant and raved about New Year's, and then the next year I was talking about New Year's again because it was New Year's. It was the topic of the week, the current event of the week. And then mid conversation with myself, I realized I bet I said the same thing last year, and now I'm just repeating the same exact stuff. And I went back and looked at the year prior's New Year's discussion, and it was almost verbatim. And I think I mentioned it on a future episode saying, hey, I think I share the same sentiments. Like that's, what you're going to get from me on certain things. So I do stay, what's the word I'm looking for? Steadfast in certain opinions. You can call it stubborn sometimes. But a lot of things I change my opinion on as I get more information. So, and we'll talk about that more later on, but where the hell is I going? Oh, the Olympics. There's not really too much, but I might have talked about that's now I remember. I lost my train of thought. Now I remember where I was going with this, folks. So thanks for following along here. I was talking about the Olympics. I didn't remember if I talked about it in the previous episode, and then I got on that tangent about opinions and previous comments and this and that. Got it. We're back. Olympics. I don't really watch the Olympics much anymore. If somebody posts highlights on like their Instagram page or ESPN or something like that, and I catch them in my scroll on Facebook or Instagram, something like that, I'll watch them because I do like athletics and I like, these impressive feats by these athletes. But I stopped watching because of the athletes, like for them almost, because they get treated like garbage. They get used for whatever political agenda is being pushed, for whatever, power trip the IOC is on or whatever they're doing. Sometimes these athletes get sponsorships that helps them out, but otherwise the Olympics doesn't do anything for them in their sport. It's the most viewed, which is good because it gets eyeballs on these incredible athletes, but they're doing races and tournaments and competitions all the time. And some of them are more important than the Olympics as far as like awards and world records and this and that. Like more often than not, world records are being set and broken not at the Olympics. They usually happen off camera because they don't televise those nearly as much, which I don't know why. This is impressive stuff. You want to see the gymnastics team on a regular basis? Televise that more. They barely cover that stuff. They barely cover swimming outside the Olympics. They certainly don't cover any of the other like offshoot events, the shooting and the archery and the tracks, like the field stuff, the track and field stuff, like shot put and what have you. Good luck finding that on a regular basis unless you know like a streaming service that offers it or a website that streams this stuff, or you were a prior athlete in that sport, so you kind of know the community and know where to find it. Good luck for the regular fan to be able to see these incredible athletes perform at the highest level besides the Olympics. So they sort of guilt trip you into that. Well, it's for the athletes. Then treat them better and care about them. Instead, no, they care about propping up some third world country to make it look like, oh, yeah, this country in Africa is going to host the Olympics. We care. We're going to build up their infrastructure. We're going to create jobs and this and that. And what ends up really happening that they don't tell you about? What ends up really happening? It's one of the saddest things you can see because those countries don't have the manpower, the specialized manpower to do that like France does or the U.S. or a first world nation does. to be able to build arenas and stadiums and pools or ski slopes or wherever it is, whatever Olympics we're following. They don't have the people, they don't have the specialized skill to do that. So what do? They either outsource, so they're not creating jobs, or they're doing slave labor. Okay? Which, if you think about it, makes it worse. So now the Olympic Committee picked this for the political bureaucratic reasons to make it look like we care about these countries. And it makes it worse because now you're enslaving all these people to put up these arenas and stadiums and platforms and all the crap that they do. People die on a regular. Where was the last Olympics? They tried to talk about that, but it got buried in the news about all the people that died trying to work on this stuff and meet these deadlines. And that's another thing. They can't really meet the deadlines and build things up to code and appropriately because it takes them longer because they're either using slave labor or they don't have enough people who know how to do this stuff. And they build up this crap and they bring a whole bunch of people in for this one event for a couple weeks, crowd the place. They don't have the supply or anything, the resources to actually support the events. And then everybody leaves. The cameras are gone. Everybody high-fives each other. Look what we did for this country. And now the country's in shambles because they're not using those stadiums and arenas. Now that building and all the resources and materials used to build these stadiums and arenas and all this crap, wasted, gone. It just deteriorates. Go look up on the internets all the abandoned Olympic performance centers, the stadiums in Russia, parts of China, the third world countries, Brazil, parts of Africa. They're collecting dust and trees and they're foresting over them in some places, and they're just wasted space now. That's all it is. It's all for show. It's all for the cameras, all for a performance. And they talk about they care about their athletes. Oh, and then what do? France was bragging how they were making sex-proof beds so that these super athletes can't go and enjoy themselves. They have to be trapped in the Olympic Center, the dorms, like prisoners, like zoo animals and circus animals. You can't leave here. One athlete, she got in trouble for leaving the designated area to go hang out with her boyfriend in Paris when she was done performing. She got in trouble for that. Yeah, they care about the athletes, all right. And then after the Olympics is done, no televised efforts whatsoever to show off the amazing abilities of these athletes. So that's why I stopped watching a long time ago. It's because I feel bad for the athletes. And if I do try and watch other stuff, like not Olympics, but watch them in other sports. I have friends who were in the gymnastics community, so they know when the stuff is going to be on and where it's showing. So you can watch that stuff. But it's just sad. It's just very hypocritical and sad, and what they do to the athletes and these countries to make it look like they care and everything is the Olympics is a great feat. Meanwhile, they don't do anything about accountability. They say they have a no steroids and no performance-enhancing drug policy. Yet when the entire country of Russia got busted for steroid use and blood doping in one of the biggest scandals, one of the biggest, discoveries of PED use and blood doping in a single investigation. And what do? What was their punishment? Oh, Russia can't compete in these Olympics, but the athletes can compete under a different flag, a non-nation flag. And whatever it was, I forgot what they called it, some other group. And everybody knew it was the Russian athletes. And they still got to compete and be televised and shown and seen competing and doing this stuff for eyes on it. Everybody knew it was Russia. So nothing actually happened to Russia. No punishment was actually given to Russia for this. Their athletes still got to compete. They weren't allowed to wear red. The Russian red. Okay. Great punishment, guys, because they knew that these athletes were super athletes. They want to see them compete, and it's going to get eyeballs on because that's all they cared about. And now we got this fake controversy that the media is trying to get us all up in arms with each other about with this boxing situation. And you got one side saying, this is a dude beating the shit out of a woman, and the other side saying, well, no, they have a vagina, so they are a woman. They just have XY chromosome and this and that, and it's a one or the other, and they're creating all this infighting and division and chaos again. And it's really not that simple. It's a very nuanced issue. I don't even have an opinion on it because it's not that important. It's a 0.00001% situation that I don't envy the people who have to deal with it. I feel for both people, both boxers involved and their families and what they got to go through, because I don't believe that this is a person who was a dude who switched over to be a woman to win sports championships like some of the other people that are out there. I think they're just in a very strange, unique, uncommon situation. And I know all those three words sort of mean the same thing. And now everybody's got to deal with it. And now they're creating this one side versus the other situation. But it's not going to happen again. The odds of this happening again are slim to none, unless in 4 years they allow this same boxer to box again and they haven't solved the problem. It's going to create backlash again, sure, if they don't figure it out. Meanwhile, nobody's talking about what I think to be the bigger issue, not the opening ceremonies. That's whatever. When you do the Olympics, expect bullshit. Expect stupid pageantry that triggers another one side or the other for whatever reason, and people are up in arms about it. And it's like, just don't watch it, and you won't have to be angry about it. But the bigger issue, in my opinion, is the fact that the Olympic Committee is allowing a convicted. Now, for all these who don't know what convicted means, that means this person was arrested and charged, and then in a court of law found guilty of a crime. Okay? Convicted child rapist on the Dutch team. Okay? A couple years ago, I think he was like 19 or 20, flew over to Britain, to the UK, to meet up with and rape a 12-year-old. Okay? And it's not an opinion. It's not like he said, she said. He got convicted of it and went to jail for only a little bit. Then he got extradited back to the Dutch community where he's from, and that was it. They were cool. Okay, you're good. You're all good to go. No registry, no permanent ban from competitive sports for him. You raped a child. And what's even worse is that some of the Dutch people on social media and the internet and on interviews, when they get interviewed, are saying, well, it's not like the kid wasn't coerced. You could see by the conversations that the 12-year-old was open to the idea and wanted it. This child is clearly old enough and mature enough, and his brain is developed enough to know what's happening here when an adult male wants to have sex with them. So it's not rape. That's consensual sex between a man and a child. Right? And the Olympics Committee is just letting him play. Play on. Go ahead. Have at it. You're cool. You like children. No big deal. We don't care about that shit. But we do care about these super athletes having a good time and leaving the campus and doing sex with each other. We're going to put a stop to that. But if you want to go and continue to be in love with children and rape children, go right ahead. You're free and clear. You can compete too. How come nobody's talking about it? Why do I feel like a crazy person for bringing this up, and I feel like there's eye rolls when I talk about it? Like people are like, oh, here we go again. I'll never understand why people are not as up in arms about that stuff, child rape, child sex trafficking, all that stuff going on and continues to go on right in front of our faces. Yet we get up in arms about this stupidest shit. I don't care about the fat, blue, bearded lady dancing at the opening ceremonies of the Olympics. I don't care that the whole thing was just a pandering ceremony of all people who would never be able to compete in the Olympics. And there wasn't like big people, like big weightlifters that are barrel chested and just heavy people who can also lift a ton of weight. It was just a bunch of fat, disgusting, weirdo people. Fine, that's cool. You want to be weird? Be weird. I'm here for that. I don't care about that is not an issue to me. You want to go have that ceremony? Have it. Cool. Who cares? Not important. You want to have a convicted child rapist compete and get TV time and sponsorships and all that? That's what I have a problem with. Sorry, that's what I have the problem with. And I have just a little bit of a problem of why people continue to like emotionally or mentally sweep that under the rug and dismiss it as like not a big deal, not as big a deal as some of this other crap going on. I will never understand that. Help me understand it. What am I missing here on why this shouldn't be a big a deal? I don't know. But regardless, I'm not watching the Olympics. Hopefully people will continue to post clips of cool stuff happening at the Olympics, and I'll watch it that way. Otherwise, I'm off it. If you want to watch it, cool. Like, I'm not going to judge you. I don't think because you're watching the Olympics, that means you support all the bullshit that they're doing. I don't think that at all. I get that. It's great athletes doing great, amazing things. That's cool. Plus a child rapist. That's not cool. So whatever. Anyway, Yankees update. Let's talk about more sports. The Yankees have had a bit of a decent run. Sort of at the time of this recording, that kind of downslid again. Shocker. It just goes back to what I've been saying all year. They're just not that good of a team, and they have these spurts of playing above their pay grade essentially, or above their weight class, which is good when they because they're winning, and I want them to win. But they're just not overall. They're just not that good and competitive. Now the trade deadline came and went. The Yankees did make some moves, so I will say, as far as that goes, what we discussed previously, the Yankees did make some moves. They tried, and they didn't do that. They didn't give up the farm for a player that's not worth it. My issue is that they didn't make enough of the right moves, and they probably should have given up the farm, at least there was a couple of players available to be traded that were worth it. And I was having this conversation with my buddy, the Creature, again. He is the smart guy on baseball, front office sort of stuff, trades deals, if you will. And he brought up another good point is the Yankees have notoriously held on to their prospects too long, to the point where they become valueless to the team. Instead of using them and leveraging them to pick up players who are currently good now and could produce for the team now, they have this idea of like, no, we're going to hold on to these prospects and develop them into great superstars. And 99% of the time, all they do is highlight the fact that these people are flashes in the pan and duds, and then they become no value to the rest of the league, and they can't trade them. They can't do anything with them. They're worthless as far as getting players and getting the team better. As human beings, they're not worthless. But as athletes, as baseball players in the major leagues, worthless. So maybe they should have done that. They also should have got rid of Gleyber Torres. He's in the hot seat this week. That's what I want to say. He's in the Yankees hot seat this week because the Yankees made a pretty decent move in acquiring Jazz Chisholm from the Marlins. You could call me utility fielder. He's a pretty decent bat. He's got a lot of charisma, and he brings that environment, with him. But he started out as an infielder and a pretty good infielder. And then the Marlins asked him if he would move to the outfield because they had some infielders coming in that they wanted to bring, to make the team better. And he's like, yeah, no problem. I'll go to the outfield, whatever. And then the Yankees brought him in, and the Yankees have 15 outfielders. Okay, so they asked him, you want to come back to the infield? And I can only assess the intent of Brian Cashman when he made this move was we're going to bring Jazz Chisholm in, and he's going to be our second baseman moving forward because we'll have at least 2 more years on his contract when we get him. And Gleyber Torres, not only is his contract up, he's on his walk year. His contract is up here at the end of this year. And he's also been absolutely garbage this year. And I don't care what anybody, you can fight me to the death on this, and I promise you, I will show you the evidence where he's not doing well. For anything you said that he's done well or good, there are 5 to 10 pieces of evidence to push back on that and prove otherwise. The guy's been abysmal. He's been really on the downside for years now. He peaked several years ago. We've already talked about this. He's peaked several years ago. They should have traded him last year when he still had a little bit of value left. And then they also had a golden opportunity to trade him now before the deadline when he also still had slightly less value, but still a little bit of value left. And they still didn't do it. And especially after they got Jazz Chisholm and they talked to Gleyber about, hey, would you be willing to move to third base and Jazz will play second because he's a second baseman. He's also way better than you at second base. And Jazz Chisholm said, look, I'll play wherever I need for to set us up for a World Series win, to be competitive for a World Series. And Gleyber Torres, who's having the worst year of his career, said, I've been the second baseman since 2018. I'm a second baseman, and that's where I'm going to stay. That's a great fucking attitude for a guy who's on his walk year and also sucking up the entire field, the entire league right now. Really making yourself marketable, Gleyber. So he's in the hot seat. And then on top of that, like I said, they didn't trade him. They kept him around. He's still on the team. So Jazz Chisholm moves over to the third. He's a hero now because of it. He's also been producing for the team pretty well, way more than Gleyber is. And recently in the last game, Gleyber got benched in the middle of the game because he was hot dogging a hit. It was a line drive. He hit it pretty hard, but it was a line drive. It was very clear that this was not going to be a home run. It was a lower line drive that was on the downslide, and it went off the wall. And he only got a single out of it because he tried to pimp it like Josh Donaldson used to do, pimp fly balls, thinking they were home runs, and they were just fly ball outs. And then because of that, so he would have been on second base with a double if he didn't hot dog it. Next batter hits a double, and he gets thrown out at home, causing them a run. They're out of the inning, causing them a run. Now, if he hustled the first time and wasn't lazy and Cadillacing like he has been, he's always been like that. He does well for a little bit, and then he gets too big for his britches, and he starts getting lazy and Cadillacing and trying to pimp everything, and then he makes errors. By the way, he has the most errors of any second baseman in the entire league. Maybe you should think about switching positions, Gleyber. Maybe you should be open to the idea. Anyway, he got caught hot dogging it, and if he got the double like he should have, he would have scored he would have stood up scoring. A stand-up RBI. No problem. Instead, he gets thrown because he had to go from first to third. Cost him a run. Yankees lost the game by a couple runs. I'm not sure how much it would have helped, but it would have kept that inning going because he would have had a run scored. It would have tied the game at that point, and you would have had a runner on second with 2 outs instead of the inning being over with no runs. And that's the thing that these people don't think about these days. The strategy behind it, the second and third order effects of your decisions and your actions or inactions, not just in baseball, but in life. So here's another lesson for you. Because he wasn't thinking about that at all. All he was thinking about is himself. Oh, I'm going to get a home run here. Oh, I didn't get a home run? Well, too late now. I'll just stay at first. That's what's frustrating. And then he gets benched and he gets mad. Doesn't know why he's getting benched. We all know why, Glaber. We all know why. And Boone did it in front of everybody because he knew it's time to make a statement. No more of this shit. I don't know who you think you are just because you've been here longer. Doesn't mean shit. If you're not producing and you're not providing any sort of value to the team, whether on the field or off the field, with with your attitude and motivation or whatever, leadership, whatever, you're benched. Okay? Provide something. Either good numbers and stats between the lines, or be a morale guy and help the team out in other ways. Use your knowledge to help the team out in other ways outside the lines. And he's not doing anything. He's not doing any of that. I thought he was on the upswing after he had a giant slump, and then he started hitting again. He started hanging out with Aaron Judge and asking for his advice and help. I thought he was attaching to the right person and it was going to help him out, and I was wrong. Hand up, that's on me. So he's in the hot seat. Clay Holmes is not in the hot seat anymore because he is the hot seat. It's the same crap every time. Aaron Judge was asked after another game where Clay Holmes comes in and blows the save. The Yankees ended up winning. That was like the perfect situation because it was funny to see Clay Holmes blow it again, but the Yankees ended up winning the game, like 12 innings or whatever it was. I don't remember, but they were asking Judge, and he's saying, the words he's saying are, excuse me, Clay Holmes is our closer. He's our guy. This is it. We all know what he's capable of and what he can do out there. He does it all the time, and we're confident, no problem. We know that if the game's on the line, he's the go-to guy. That's what his words were saying. But if you watch the interview and you look at his eyes, he even smirked a little bit, so you could tell he knew he was bullshitting. But his eyes were darting all over the locker room, all over the place, looking up, looking left, looking right, all over the place, which is a big indicator of a lie. And you can ask anybody with any sort of background in interrogations or human studies of any kind. That's indicative of a liar. Whatever he was saying, he was not telling the truth. And he does not believe what he was saying. And he gave a very, very good captain answer. That's exactly what he should have done. Proud of him for doing that. But it's also tough to lie. And you could see it on his face. He did not believe a word he was saying. So that's Clay Holmes, everybody. So he is what he is. Anyway, let's keep moving on. I don't know how long I've been going on about current events here. Let's move on real quick. Two more things I want to make mention of that are disheartening, but are something I feel that to be important because it affects our pocketbooks, our wallets, our purses, or what have you. Okay? First things first. This past Friday, I think it was, the market saw the biggest crash since the 2020 crash because of COVID and the lockdowns and the economy tanking. $2.9 trillion down in the stock market because people are in fear of a recession. Okay? I don't know what that means. I don't know what the evidence is on why they fear that. I thought we were already in a recession, that the politicians just changed the definition of recession when we actually hit the threshold. They just moved the goalpost to make us think that we weren't in one, what we were a couple years ago. But $2.9 trillion down the stock market. I'm not too worried about it because that's what I think people do. They get emotionally attached. And when they see that, then they start selling and they're like, oh, I got to save some money. But if you just keep it in whatever stocks you're in, it's eventually going to come back up. And if you sell, you're guaranteeing the loss. So I just don't touch my money. If I have anything invested, if it's in there at the time of a crash, it's staying in there. And if anything, I'm going to put more in there at the lower fee, at the lower cost, and then it's going to come back up and then we're going to be fine. Now, older people have a little bit less of ability to do that because they need access to their money more at that, currently than I do. Most of my money that I invest is for later on in my life. I don't need it right now. But as you get older, your timeline shifts. You want that money more frequently and more, what is the word I'm thinking of? I am blanking on words today, folks. More immediately. That's it. So I get that. I understand that concern. But when the market does this stuff, if you have long-term investments, keep them in there. put more. If you have the extra money to put in there, put more in there because it's going to go back up. So you'll make out okay in the long run. Anyway, the next money thing I want to talk about is we talked about this months ago, maybe last year sometime. We talked about the accounting error by the government, shocker, on the amount of money that they've been providing to Ukraine. That's unaccounted for money. Now, we've been giving billions of them to the Ukraine, and none of it, we can't account for any of it. We don't know what it's going towards. We don't know where it's ending up. Nothing. We've just been giving them money or weapons, whatever. It's crazy that we're doing that in the first place. But they just came out. We talked about a couple months ago where it was upwards of $6 billion in an accounting error by the government on how much money we were given. We were off by $6 billion. We actually been giving them $6 billion more, apparently. Well, that money, that amount just shot up to $8 billion. Okay. Now, you might be thinking that's only 2 more than $6 billion. Sure, if you're looking at it on a piece of paper, 6 plus a mere 2 equals 8. Sure. But we're talking billions of dollars. Billions of dollars. Okay. Now, to wrap our heads around that, I can't do the math in my head, but think about, try to expand things out, like do it with, minutes and seconds. 60 seconds in a minute. How many years is a billion seconds? And do that. I forgot what it is. It's like 32 years, something like that, something crazy like that. A billion seconds is up. I forgot what it was. Don't quote me. I can't do the math like that in my head real quick. But that's how much we're talking about. Okay. And guess what? That money is our tax money. Okay. Now remember that when you vote for your senators, your congressmen, your presidential administration, okay? Those are the people that are all voting and okaying this to happen. They're not, and the presidential administration is not vetoing it. They're the ones pushing for it. And the Senate and Congress are all okaying it. And it's just going out there. And they say, we need to support Ukraine. But what is the real reason? That money is being laundered, folks. And you can put the tinfoil hats on if you want, or you can call me the tinfoil hat theorist right now for that. But the money goes out either directly to them to make purchases on weapons and equipment and systems, or it's given to them in equipment and systems. And who's making the equipment and the weapons and the systems and the ammo and all this stuff? U.S. companies. Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, all the other GA, I don't know who else is doing it. All of them. Okay? And then that money ends up back in the pockets of the politicians. Thank you for your service, Congressman. Thanks for voting for this. Here's your cut to your campaign and to your team. Here's your cut for that. Joey B., here's your cut. George Bush, Dick Cheney, that's been happening for all time. Okay? And it's our money. We're working our dicks off. Sorry, T, family show, I know. 8, 10, 12 hours a day for somebody else to make a decent paycheck, to put money, to put food on our table for ourselves, our families, to put a roof over our heads, to give ourselves decent lives, most of us. And then you look at how much is just taken from us because we worked. Oh, well, the government needs their cut because we got to pay the government workers and all these programs you say you want. We got to pay for that. And none of it's actually going to the programs. It's going to pockets of people to do nothing for us. And then it's going overseas to come back in the pockets of the people who do nothing for us. So this is just a friendly reminder that this is what we're voting for. And that's why I always harp on the importance of educating yourselves on who it is you're interested in voting for, what position they're running for politically, what authorities and power does that position have, how does it affect you directly? And then you make your decision based on who you think would be the best for the position, not who you think is going to win. Bill Maher, he's a smart guy. He's a comedian. He's had his own show. He's very cocky. It's almost like he thinks he's the smartest person on television. Sometimes I don't think he actually thinks that, but he comes off that way. And he's a classical, like traditional liberal, but he also calls out the bullshit of the extreme left, extreme right too, obviously. He calls them out on their ridiculousness. Fine, cool. And he was calling them out for something. I forgot what it was. The switching out of Joey B with Kamala and how they took away the rights of the people to vote on who their candidate should be, all that stuff. And he said, and he's like, I don't, I vote. He goes, I don't vote party lines. I vote who I think is going to win. Now, I know he was trying to make a point that he wasn't blindly voting party, left or right. Got it. But I don't believe in that idea either. And most people do because it's a safe bet. They don't think their vote's being wasted if the person they vote for actually wins, whatever. But it doesn't mean that doesn't mean you're voting for the person who's going to be best for the position. And that's what I always try to do myself. And I always try to help, push out to the others, request of everybody else, recommend to everybody else that they do the same thing. Now, there's always these people and celebrities and stuff during election time that come out and say, vote, your vote counts. Don't forget to vote. Don't forget to vote. Don't forget to vote. But they never tell you, don't forget to educate yourself about what you're voting on, who you're voting for, what the position is. No, they don't give a shit about that because they know 95% of us, I'm making up these numbers here, but 95% of us are just going to vote along their party line. That's all they care. Or whoever the cool celebrity is telling them, hey, I back this person and I'm a cool guy and you should vote. So they're like, oh, well, that cool guy is voting for this person, so I'll vote for that's the whole idea. That's the marketing behind it all, I guess. Maybe. I'm not a marketer, so I don't know. So if you want to have an actual effect on things, we have to come together as a people and educate ourselves because the education and uniting of us as Americans, that's the power that these politicians are so afraid of. That's why they try to keep us stupid and in the dark to everything. That's why they try to push out headlines and make slanderous statements and crazy clickbaity things that they say on TV and on the internet to keep us divided. They want us stupid and divided because if we're stupid and divided, they can control us. They have the power. And they know as soon as we come together and we educate ourselves, we take the power back. Now we have the ability to dictate how our country is run and led. And that's all I want for us to do. I want us to come together and get the power back a little bit. Get some of that influence back. I want these, like, don't forget, politicians are government workers. They're public service workers, okay? But they're walking around thinking that they're above everybody else because of it, and they're not. They're public servants, okay? They're administrative garbage men. They do a public service, like the mailmen, garbage, and utility workers, some of them. Public service workers. They are supposed to be serving the public. Instead, they're ruling over the public. So if you don't want $8 billion to just go missing and unaccounted for, that's how you do it. Educate yourself. Pick who you think is going to be the best for the job. Represent you the best. Whatever. Anyway, I'm done with that crap. Let's get to the good stuff, I guess. Should be a short one. Who knows? Junction, I mean, not this episode. I'm sure this episode is going to go long as usual. That's fine. That's what I do. I rant. Some people like it. Some people don't. That's fine. Good stuff, though. Junction, Cage Fact. Let's step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Hit to the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Chode Jeans. What? Are you an alpha fella, but the only thing holding you back from scoring all the chicks is the fact that you are wider than you are long below the equator, and can't find a pair of jeans that fit your junk in the trunk and also aren't too long, forcing you to cuff up your dungarees like your Squints Palidorus, then order yourself a pair of Chode jeans today. Chode jeans are custom made to fit your weird, sort of dwarfish, but only in the most ridiculous way, lower half, to make you look like a pseudo-normal looking dude for once. So to take the first step towards not looking like a mini horse freak, visit www.wideload.com. If you use the promo code Tony Rigachotti, you'll get 29% off your first pair. Chode jeans. I actually have the opposite situation going on with my frame and my build. I have regular length legs of a normal size adult man. I would venture to say my legs are as long as a 5'9", a 5'10" tall man. And then my torso is a Chode torso. I have the upper body, the midsection, probably, from lower neck down, that midsection is that of maybe like a 5'1", 5'2" Matt Steele type, Weasel type person. That's what I got going on. It's a very strange situation. It's tough to buy clothes like that because, excuse me, if I buy like large size shirts, most of the time larges are too long, but mediums are too tight. Not because I'm a super jacked buff hunk. I am, but that's not why. It's because mediums are too small for me. They're too tight around every part of my body. But they're long enough. They're the perfect length. But when I get a large, it looks like a weird smock where it fits right on the shoulders and the arms, but either the sleeves are too long or it goes far down too far down below my waist, and it looks stupid, and I don't like the way it looks. So it's a predicament. And then you find yourself, we'll just order those custom tailored shirts or whatever. Yeah, it's all well and good. Those are expensive. Okay, and I'm not trying to spend that money just yet. My money is going to other things right now, like my business, my investments, my student loans. So, anyway, Chode jeans. Cage fact. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. I don't know what we're doing on this show anymore. Cage fact. As you know, Cage made a movie called The Surfer. It's not out yet, but it did premiere at film festivals and what have yous. Now, apparently there's a scene in the movie where there's a rat involved. Okay? And Cage does something with the rat. I don't know what. I didn't really say in the article. But part of that scene involves having like a fake dead rat. I say dead, but it's a fake rat. So it's not an animatronic rat. It's just a fake rat prop. And Nic Cage took it after the scene. And while they're continuing to film, they're asking him, "Hey, Cage, can we get the rat back?" And he's like, "I'd like to carry it in my pocket for the rest of the movie. It's part of, so I'm trying to get in character. Like, I'm doing my thing, the nouveau shamanic or whatever his style of acting is. Let me do my thing, and then I'll give it to you guys after we're done shooting and filming." And they're like, "Okay." So he had this rat with him, this real-looking, like realistic rat with him throughout the entire filming of the movie in his pocket. Rat, Nic Cage. That's the fact. That's it. Can't expect anything less of him. That's his style, and when it works, okay? Let Cage be Cage. And that's it. That's the Cage fact. We'll move it over to the Junction. We'll spin the logo up. Excuse me. I only want to talk about two things today. One, it's politically related, but I just need you to follow me here, and we'll get it out of the way, and then we'll hopefully be done with that stuff, even though it's going to be shoved down our throats until November and beyond. The big news story right now is the whole Emperor Trump being at that black community seminar. I don't know exactly what it was called, but being interviewed by that lady and then saying basically how Kamala Harris picks whatever nationality or ethnicity she thinks is going to be more beneficial to her because her mom is full Indian from India, and then her dad is part Jamaican, like not fully. So she's also part Jamaican, which is so part black. I don't know exactly the percentage or whatever. And Donald Trump said, in the Emperor Trump way, of course, that she just picks and chooses whatever's going to benefit her, and everybody's up in arms about that and going crazy, and both sides are arguing one way or the other, and it's getting chaotic and stupid again. And it's not really important because it doesn't actually affect. Here's my gauge of stuff in the world, and you could take this for what you want, and each person is different because people have different lives and experiences. They have families or they don't have families, and this and that. So I gauge things that if it doesn't affect my ability to work and make a living and make money to support my lifestyle, if it doesn't affect my safety or security, and if it doesn't affect my ability to go pursue what makes me happy in life, then it's not important to me. I don't care. It's not important. Okay? So for instance, I'll give you a very quick anecdotal style example, hypothetical. I like fishing. I haven't fished in a while, but I do like fishing. When I was living in South Dakota, it was every weekend in the summer we were fishing. Now, each state has its own different regulations and rules on fishing. Fishing license, where you're allowed to go fish, this and that. So if there's a politician, if there's a governor or mayor of a town or whatever, whoever has the jurisdiction, if they change the rule and say, no, you not only do you need a fishing license, you need to be this tall to fish, and I don't meet that mark, now I can't fish. That's a problem. That affects me. That affects my pursuit of things that make me happy. So now I'm going to look into a governor or mayor or whoever that I can stand behind that's going to allow me to go pursue my happiness again. So stuff like that. And again, that's probably not important to you. And that's your own, it should be your own metric on what is important to you, what crosses the threshold of importance or not. If a president or an administration or Congress and Senate are raising my taxes, that becomes important to me because it directly affects my income now and how much more or extra I have to work to make the money I was making because more of it's leaving my bank account. That affects me. If they're appointing shitty generals in the military, and in turn those shitty generals are ruining the military or making them weaker, and my security and safety is going to be compromised, or they're going to call me up to go to some war that we have no business being a part of. We're creating a war for political reasons, and we're going to put our lives at risk for no actual good reason. Yeah, that stuff I consider important. That affects me directly. But Kamala Harris picking and choosing what percentage of ethnicity she wants to pretend to be more of at any given time, it doesn't affect me. I don't like that idea. Like, I wouldn't do it myself, but it doesn't affect me. What I will say this, and then we'll end this conversation on this topic. It's just a reminder, okay? And I think we as a people have gotten too set in our opinions and being on one team or another and defending those people on our teams to the death, no matter who they are, just because they're on our team. And you see it with Emperor Trump. People will forget about all the bad things he said or sleazy things he's done in the past. And On the other side with Kamala and Joe B being inept and basically dead, and also, and all his stuff in the past, and Kamala being all her stuff in the past and present for all of them. We just do the mental gymnastics to defend our team, our guys, no matter what. And the one thing we have to, I wish we would take the step back and remember. Though this is something, again, a friend of mine, I'm not going to name names because they might not want to be associated with this. They reminded me a quote from the show Shameless on Netflix with William H. Macy and the one girl who was in Phantom of the Opera. I forgot her name. She's really the star of the show. She was a star of the show. Excuse me. Emily Rossum, something like that. Reminded me of a quote that William H. Macy character said because he was a degenerate alcoholic bum, and somebody asked him to do if he would be willing to do something. I forgot what it was, and William H. Macy said, whatever I need to be, whenever I need to be it." And this is what I want us to step back and remember, especially over the last several decades, basically almost since JFK assassination, maybe a little bit before. It's probably started to trickle in. Maybe even before that. Who knows? I don't know enough about presidential or political history to go too far before World War II to understand it all. But for all of our existences, our lives, politicians are whatever they need to be, whenever they need to be it, for whoever they need to be it for. Okay? Doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, what side of the aisle, what political party, what race they're in, what position they're running for. They will be whatever they need to be to whoever they need to be it for, whenever they need to be it. Okay? Now, you can hate the guy all you want. The only person you can argue against that sentiment, unfortunately, is Emperor Trump, the orange man, Trumpy Bear. And here's why I say that. The guy doesn't kowtow to anybody. Okay? He's the same big mouth, crass, says whatever first comes to his brain kind of guy that he's always been. No matter who he's talking to, what crowd he's in, he's the same guy. If you're pro-Trump, he loves you. If you disagree with him, he hates you. That's it. That's who he is. He's really the only one. Off the top of my head. And he still plays the sides. He plays the game a little bit, not nearly as much as everybody else, to his credit, I guess. But he still plays it. He still does the sleazy stuff. He's been the same guy. But every politician in history, you could go back just presidents, not you don't even have to go as deep. Congress, Senate, mayors, governors, they're doing it too. But look at presidents. I don't remember Reagan. I was too young. But I remember George H.W. Bush. What did he do? Read my lips. No new taxes. He won the presidency based off of that, basically. And what did he do? He raised taxes. He said whatever he needed to say to get the votes needed to win the race. And then he raised taxes. And that actually, back in the day, your actions actually, you were held accountable because he didn't win the next term. Because people remember that. Hey, you said you were not raising taxes. It was one of the most famous things somebody said as a presidential candidate at the time. And then you raised taxes. So you're out. And H.W. Bush would argue Ross Perot was the reason I lost the election. No, you're the reason you lost the election, because if you didn't go back on your word, if you didn't lie to the people, they would have voted for you regardless of Bill Clinton and Ross Perot being in the race, because your actions backed up your words, but they didn't. And then guys like Ross Perot were able to slide in on the independent side and get some votes because he was a breath of fresh air. And then Bill Clinton played the crowds like a fiddle and was a smooth talking, smart guy, and took the rest of the votes. Okay, and then you could say the same thing about Bill Clinton. Smooth talking guy, said whatever he needed to do. He played the saxophone on the Arsenio Hall show, on all the night shows when he was running for president. He says all the right things to all the right crowds whenever they were there. All this stuff. You know what you saw what happened with him. Okay? George W. Bush, same thing. Brings us together with the whole 9/11. We got to go after these terrorists. Osama bin Laden. We're going to get him. We're going to go after him. But first, we're going to go to Iraq because they're bad too, right, guys? And he started a war with Iraq for no good reason. Oh, I know the reasons, but not a good reason. He just created a war and a power vacuum in Iraq and basically set the stages for the creation of ISIS. If you connect all the dots, after saying we're gonna find Osama bin Laden and the people who did this to our country, and Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with it. He's a bad guy. It doesn't mean you just go wage war with a guy you don't like. Anyway, move on to Barry Obama. Big Barry, Barack Obama, the great uniter. A really smart guy, talked about uniting the country, bringing us together. No color, black and white. We're all one people, blah, blah. And then there are a number of occasions where you can see him starting fake war, wars and conflicts with countries for political reasons, bailing out the big banks. Supposed to be the guy to help unite the people, and he's bailing out the big banks during the mortgage crash, the housing crash. Billions of dollars, trillions of dollars went to them to bail out our money. It tanked the middle class that he's supposed to be cared about and united. And then always made sure he mentioned color and race when everything happened, things happen around the world, which created more division. So they'll say whatever they have to. People don't remember that. Now, it was obviously better than it is now when it comes to chaos and division and people lying and cheating, but people don't remember that the reason why Donald Trump even had a chance to win the presidency in 2016 is because the end of the Obama term was so bad that people were so tired of it. That's how bad it was so bad with him and being talking out of both sides of his mouth that people were so tired of it that it brought Emperor Trump out of his dungeon. So people forget about that now because it's worse now with all the chaos and the childish behavior and the division and stuff. And then you have Trump. And then you have these people. J.D. Vance is another one. I think J.D. Vance is a terrible pick for VP. He's a nobody. Now, I think it's ironic and kind of funny that the super lefties, a lady who identifies as a cat is saying this is a bad pick because he's weird. We shouldn't like that guy. He's weird. I guess you would know, cat lady. You know what weird is, so maybe you're right. Maybe you're onto something. But I do find it ironic and funny that the party of inclusion and everybody's, nobody should be judged and nobody's weird and everybody's great and good and this and that. This guy looks like he wears mascara. He must be, he's a weirdo. I think that's funny, but I don't think he's a good pick. He's a nobody. And he's a flip-flopper. He's not a guy, and I don't say this lightly, he's not a guy who changed his opinion on stuff. Like, he was a never-Trumper. He was one of those. I don't like Donald Trump, and he put it out publicly for years and years and years. And there was no evidence to suggest, I might be changing my thought process on the guy. Through his actions, his policies, I starting to like this guy a little bit. Nothing like that. He never Trump, never Trump, never Trump, never Trump. Trump comes by, hey, you want to be my VP? I love you. I love the guy. So it's long story longer. That's what we get with politicians. So instead of picking sides and getting mad, Trump's an asshole for saying that, or Kamala is flip-flopping and pretending whatever, they all are doing it. Please remember, folks, they're trying to keep us divided and chaotic. I wish we can just bring each other, like find a way to come together, because these people will say whatever they need to say, do whatever they need to do, and be whatever they need to be whenever they need to be it to get what they want. And it's a sad state of affairs, and I wish people would remember that. And that hopefully is all I'm going to say. Unless something super big and important happens in the world of politics coming up, it's going to be the same crap. So there's not worth talking about anymore. There's going to be fake things to argue about that people think are important and are not. There's probably going to be more increased rioting. They're going to increase the chaos and danger of a World War III and this nation state and this person's evil and all this stuff that we get, all the check boxes that we always see every 4 years. That's all going to happen. We don't need to talk about it anymore. Hopefully, I don't like talking about it anymore. It's not fun on this show anymore to do it. So I just want us to remember that they're all sleazy, and we should be coming together through our commonalities as people, because we have more things in common than we disagree on. And if we do disagree on that, I wish we would be more forgiving, like more understanding of that. Nobody should be agreeing 100% with everybody on everything all the time. That doesn't make sense. And it's okay to disagree with somebody and be different. That doesn't mean somebody else is evil or a piece of crap and you need to cut them out and treat them like shit and be violent against them. That's what they want. Okay? Stupidity and division keeps the power with them. Okay? I'm done. No more. Till next week, probably. Anyway, last thing I want to talk about before we get to the big three, there is, I don't want to call this a trend. I don't, because I haven't seen enough of it. What I will say is I want this to be a trend. Okay? And let me know in the comments or the hotline or whatever if you've seen this as well. It's people who dress up for their regular day, like just to go out to the grocery store or to their jobs or to the gym or whatever, and dress up in a full sports uniform. Now, I'm not talking about the cyclists who are casual cyclists who wear all the tights and the helmets and the glasses and all that stuff that we talked about in the past. Not those. I'm talking about guys who will wear a full Chicago Bulls basketball uniform, Jordan jersey or whoever, the Bulls shorts, the matching Jordan shoes, everything is a full uniform, and they're going to the groceries. They're just living their life. That's their outfit of the day, is to go out. They go to their job like that or whatever, if they can, whatever it is, they're just wearing, like, I'm going to wear the full uniform. I'm pretty confident people have seen that before, and I want to see more of it. And I want to know what we can do to see more of that. I saw a guy. This wasn't even a professional team. This was like a minor league, G League basketball team. I'm leaving the gym. This guy's going into the wig store with his girl next door. And it's yellow. I forgot the name of the team on there. It looked like Lakers colors, but it wasn't Lakers gear. Full jersey, shorts, matching yellow and white sneaks. They were Jordan sneakers, but matching yellow and white. No, he didn't have sweatpants on. Maybe he could have, because it was hot. It would have helped him a little bit, but that was what he was. That was his outfit of the day. He was suited up for a professional basketball game. That was his regular outfit. No jeans, no regular shorts, no button down, nothing. I'm wearing a full basketball uniform today. And I want more of that. I want to see people walking around in full football regalia, going to the mall or going to Starbucks. Jersey, the pants that go to the knees. You don't have to put the pads on or a helmet or anything. But do it. Do it right. You can wear turf shoes instead of cleats. Full baseball gear, uniform. Doesn't have to be tucked in. No, you don't have to wear a cup if you don't want to. Again, turfs, no cleats, whatever. If you want to wear stirrups, I won't be opposed to it. but I'd like to see more of that. I want that trend to catch on. We talked previously about this trend of women using the word yap or yapping more often than not now, especially on the dating apps. They, I'm a yapper. I like to yap. And I don't know where it came from. I'm trying to figure that. How did that get big? However, that got big. Let's get guys wearing full uniforms for everyday life. Get that big. I don't know how it started, but the confidence you have to have and the self-actualization and just that mindset of I don't give a shit what other people think. I'm balling out today. To have that mindset is just, that's the dream right there. That sort of self-enlightenment, if you will, to just ball out. That's the only way I can describe it. To just be so confident and not give a shit about anybody else's opinions of what you're wearing or what you're doing with your life. I want more of that. I want to see full Giants gear, Tommy DeVito, blood on it because the guy's getting blasted because they have no offensive line. I want to see, you could go old school. You could go old like Michael Jordan uniform, Larry Bird. You could go the short shorts. If you like short shorts, you could go that route. If you like the longer late 90s, early 2000s shorts for the basketball side, do that. Baseball uniform. You want to go with the old school wool? Maybe it's winter time and you want to wool up and keep warm. Wear one of the old school jerseys and pants, the uniforms. If you like to keep it light, you could go with the Reds sleeveless that they've had in the past, back in the Ken Griffey Jr., Deion Sanders days. Do it. Sometimes the football players will have like the short jerseys, like basically like the belly shirts almost, and they do it. But you got to wear the pants too. You got to wear the football pants, white or gray or whatever. Got to be down to your knees. Football, it's got to be the full uniform. And it's not. I don't think it's stolen athletic valor. I think it's just people who love sports and they're dressing for the job they want. That's it. And I loved seeing. I loved walking outside after a solid workout. It's 100 degrees on the blacktop here in the parking lot. I'm walking home, and this absolute fucking alpha walks out with his giant ass girlfriend or wife or whatever. Giant. Good for him. Whatever. Doesn't matter, as long as they're happy. And he is loving life. He's got these big shades on with like studs and designs around them. And he's got a gut. He's got a bit of a gut. He's not a fat guy, but he's just got the gut. Just a little bit of the how you doing in the front. And you could see in his walk, the way he was walking, like so smudgely, like not like an asshole, but just like strutting his stuff. I loved it. And he loved it too. Like if more people had that attitude and feeling about life in general, he probably follows the big three, maybe not so much on the exercise side, but if more people felt that way, we would be a better place. We'd be able to unite better. We'd have a good time doing it. Imagine you go to the movies and 75% of the people there are in all different sports uniforms or anything, pageantry or ballerina, like whatever your athletic or performance or entertainment value, wherever that comes from, your value comes from, do it. If you like the ballet, wear a tutu. If you wanted to be a ballerina when you were a kid, rock a tutu. Want to be a hockey player, jersey, those thick padded shorts. You don't have to wear skates, obviously, unless you want to rollerblade around. Gloves, do it. Do it. Go all out. You're a fencer, wear the gear. I want to see. I don't know why this sounds so stupid. It doesn't make any sense, but it just made my day. This guy was wearing a full uniform, like as if he just got done playing. Like that was his job for the day, to go and dunk on Carmelo Anthony, who doesn't play anymore, or LeBron James, or whoever. Just drain threes all day. I don't know what the mindset is. I don't care. I want more of that mindset. I hope it's not that he's like schizophrenic or, demented or something, and that's why he's doing it. He doesn't realize it. I don't think that's the case. But I would love to be able to go to like Dunkin' Donuts or go get some food somewhere, and just everyone is in different jerseys and full uniforms. I don't know why. It's stupid, but it's fun. It just makes life fun. This life is too short to take things so seriously, especially the ones that don't affect us. So we have to have fun. If you're not having fun, what is the point? What are we doing? So that was fun for me to see that. I want to see more of it. I don't know how we can get this. Somebody who's listening, there has to be maybe one person who happens to hear this who is popular and knows how to set trends or grow trends and make things go viral. It's not me. That's for damn sure. So if you know anybody, if you know that type of person, please bring this to them. Bring this idea to them. We got to get more uniforms out in society. We got to get more people dressing for the dream that they wanted as children. Now, I don't recommend, if your dream, like mine, was to be a pilot in the Air Force, I don't necessarily recommend buying a military uniform, because you could get popped for stolen valor, and you don't want to deal with that, because there are a lot of veterans out there. This is a separate conversation I'll have eventually about veterans and all that stuff. There are a lot of veterans out there that don't like that. And you couple that with the PTSD they're dealing with and other issues that you get from being in the military, they're not going to respond too well to that. So I don't advise that. Okay. Well, if you have questions, if your dream was to be in the military, we can figure out a way to have you dress for that dream job you wanted without you getting popped for stolen valor. Maybe you dress up like a G.I. Joe or like Schwarzenegger from Commando or Predator, stuff like that. Rambo, things like, you could do that. We'll figure it out. You could come to me about that. But dress for the dream you wanted when you were a kid. Not just the job, for the dream you wanted. I absolutely wanted to be a baseball player for the Yankees. I'm actually happy, though, because the Yankee uniforms don't have, the authentic uniforms don't have the names on the back of the jerseys. And I don't like necessarily, unless it's like a once-in-a-generation player, like a Jordan jersey. I used to have a Jordan jersey when he was number 9 on the Dream Team. Maybe that's somewhere maybe my parents threw it away. I don't know. But otherwise, I don't like having the names on the back of jerseys, because those people come and go, and now you have a jersey for, like, how many times have you seen people, especially on like teams like the Jets or the Browns or something, where they're just burning jerseys or taping new names on the jersey because they spent $100+ on these things, and then a guy leaves. So I thought that was always a little weird. So I do like that the Yankees don't have names, so I could go full Yankees uniform if I wanted to. I could pick my number too, my favorite number, 29. Nobody significant is wearing 29 anyway. And that could be me. I just show up to work in a Yankees uniform. And here's the thing, folks. Nobody's going to think you're crazy, because it's going to be a trend. We're pushing this as a new thing, a new fashion trend. And it's going to be uniforms. You're uniforming. You're dressing for the dream. I don't know how we're going to do it. Somebody who has a TikTok and a following, maybe let me know, and we can figure out some fun way to make it pop online. I don't know, but I want to see more fat bastards wearing jerseys of peak performing athletes. I want to see a 300-pound animal walking around in a full Derek Jeter uniform. That's what I want to see. I want to see more of that. Those people just loving life, dressing for the dream. I got a kick out of it. That's all I got to say about that. I got a kick out of it. It was fun. I'm trying to end things on a fun note, and we're going to minimize the bullshit talk anymore about politics and bullshittery. I don't like talking about it. I have trouble with number 2 of the big 3, just like everyone else. This is a perfect example. I get hot and bothered about something, and I vent about it to you poor people, and we're going to be better about that. I'm calling myself out. Anyway, buy uniforms. Go out to the mall. Go get your Starbucks coffee. Go to a drive-through wearing a full sports uniform or a tutu or ice skating stuff like the leotards. Have fun with your day and brighten someone else's day as well. Wear a full yellow basketball uniform, and you clearly did not go play basketball anywhere. Do it. Love it. Keep it going. Now that's all I got for the day. Before we go, very quickly, the big 3, the 3 pillars to staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, more genuine human being and spreading that positivity and goodness to all those around you throughout the land. Number 1, exercise every day. Do something every day to improve your physical, mental, or emotional fitness and health and wellness. One thing every day, whether it's a full physical workout or reading a book or learning a new hobby, whatever. Do it. Improve your fitness levels physically, mentally, emotionally. Number 2, the hardest one to do, don't be a shitty person, be a kind person. It's something I clearly need to continue working on a constant basis because I catch myself after the fact all the time. When the opportunity arises, when your negative emotions are churning and you want to say something, disparaging or angry response to somebody or be an asshole to somebody, even if you think they deserve it, maybe maybe they do deserve it, excuse me. Recognize that you're in that emotional state. And when you recognize that, then now you have the ability to control what you do from there. Once you're able to recognize that trigger, instead of leaning into the negative, take the LPDS step back and go focus on more positive, productive things with your lives. That way you're minimizing the negativity and the shit and garbage and division in the world, and you're giving yourself the capacity to go be more positive and productive in your world. It's very simple, but it's very difficult to actually do. I get it. I struggle with it. And I think I've been missing the mark on that on this show lately. So I'm going to be better about that for sure. For myself and for everybody else. Number 3, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. We got a lot of good things in our lives. We live good lives here. Generally speaking, most of us have very good lives. Okay? Don't take it for granted. I know it's easy to think that way. There's always that saying out there, excuse me, live today like you're going to die. Live like today's the last day you're going to be alive and you're going to die. Whatever the saying is, I butchered it clearly, but whatever it is, live like there's no tomorrow. And that's all well. I understand the sentiment behind it, but most of the time people hear that and they eye roll because it's like, I can't do that. Because if I knew I was going to die tomorrow, I would fly over to Italy. I'd go make out with every hot girl I see. I'd spend all the time with my family and friends and important people. I'd spend all my money on stuff. I'd fly, private everywhere to go take full advantage of that. That's what I would do if I knew I was going to die tomorrow. It would be all out there. But logistically and financially and logically, I can't do that because if I live like that and there's still a chance that you'll wake up tomorrow, and there's always that chance, obviously, we're still alive, then you have to do a little bit more preparing and planning for that percentage chance. Okay? You can't just go all in on one option and then the next day you wake up, you're like, shit, I am poor. I'm going to get arrested for kissing all these ladies. I have no more money. I'm in severe debt now because I bought all these private jets and all this things, this stuff for people, and I thought I was going to die tomorrow. So logically, so people associate that saying with that. Like, I can't do that. And then they slough it off, and then they eventually fall back into taking things for granted. So my point here is, if you focus on gratitude, like actively taking the time to be grateful for at least one thing that's good in your life each day, you're going to start changing your brain chemistry, the way your brain thinks about things. Okay? And you continue to do that, and you do it more and more often each day, slowly but surely, you're going to be living in that state of gratitude a lot more, and you're going to be able to live each day not more successfully, but in a better light. You're going to be able to go to bed each day, each night, and look back on your day, and you can honestly say to yourself, I've given everything I've had for this day. Okay, for all the things I wanted to do, and the people I wanted to interact with, and the work I wanted to get done, I did everything to the fullest of my abilities. I appreciated all the good things I had this day, today, and if I did happen to die tomorrow, I would not be dying with regret. That's really the key right there. And if you do that with the gratitude, if you actually think about good things in your life, think about how bad your life would be like without that, that'll put you in that state of gratitude. You do that every day. You couple that with not being a shitty person, and you couple that with exercising every day. And I promise you guys, we will be better, happier, kinder, healthier, more genuine human beings, and we'll be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around us and throughout the land. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and put those notifications on, and tell your friends and enemies, and hit that hotline, 202-670-1114. Spread that number out to everybody. I don't care. Let them call in and prank me and troll me and do whatever. 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.